Thank you very much. Yes, where's the F in work? Anybody got an idea?
In the room.
In the room, exactly. Anybody got an idea what I mean by F? What word am I? Keep it clean. Yes. What were you going to say, Steve? So rude. I'm going to have to edit.
You could have said fornication.
Lots of rude words out there. Yes, anybody who knows me knows that fun is a very important word to me. But the thing is, what does fun mean to you?
Golf.
Laughter? Golf? Anything else? Holidays?
Supporting Man United.
History?
I find my work is my solace, my happy place.
Your work is your happy place. And that's a fun place for you.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Because there are some negative ideas about fun. Because we can have this idea that fun can be disrespectful. If you're having too much fun, then somebody might think that you're not taking things seriously, and they might find that disrespectful. Some people think of it as frivolous. If you're having fun, are you being frivolous? Are you not taking things seriously again? Childish. We think of children having fun. But are adults allowed to have fun? And are we allowed to have fun all the time? Or do we have to limit our fun to certain areas of our life?
Depends on your job.
Well, that's an interesting thing. We'll come to that. Because we can also think of it as unfocused. People think if they're having fun, they're not going to be focused on the important stuff, and they're not going to get things done. And it can be seen as unbusinesslike. Are you not taking me seriously? You seem to be having too much fun. So when people look at us and we're having fun, do they think that we're not taking our business seriously? Do they think we're not taking their business seriously? And sometimes it can be seen as silly. If you're having fun, you're being childish, are you being silly at the same time? But if we flip it on its head and we look at what fun can bring you, if you're looking at doing two things, and one's fun and the other isn't, which are you more likely to do? The fun thing. So it can bring you that desire to act, the desire to do the task at hand. It can feel lighter. Actually, if you look at the etymology, the word origin of the word serious, it comes from heavy, grave, weighty. So is it any wonder that when we talk about doing something serious, it feels heavy and we feel weighed down by it? When we think of doing something fun, it removes that sense of hard work. And what impact does that have on our productivity? You do more. We achieve more. When we're having fun, we achieve more. And there's that state of flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, it's taken me a long time to learn how to say that name, invented this idea of flow when he analysed it. And if we're having fun and we're engaged, we can get that sense of flow. And I'll come back to that later. Because although we might have this idea that fun makes us unfocused, if we're enjoying what we're doing and we're being productive, actually we've got increased focus. If you're having a great deal of fun doing the thing you're doing, are you going to be more focused or less focused? If you look at kids, you can see this demonstrated. If they're doing something they're really enjoying, sometimes you can't get them away from it. You can't pull them away from it. They're so focused. And it can give us that sense of being alive. When you're doing something you really enjoy, you have a sparkle to you. Steve, you have a bit of joy to your life when you're doing your work because you love it and you feel alive. And that's another big word for me, joy. When you're doing something fun, there's more joy in your life. And if there's more joy in your life, how do you come across?
Positive, fun to be around.
Fun to be around? Joyful. And what impact does that have on the people around you? Yeah, and people are more likely to employ you because you're nice to be around and they feel more joyful. There's all sorts of neurobiology behind this because we have a whole set of neurons called mirror neurons. So if we're with someone who is feeling joyful, we naturally feel joyful. We can't help it. It's just our physiology doing it for us because our physiology takes on the physicality of joyful, and therefore our mind goes, oh, okay, we're joyful. Let's do this then. It's that contagion of a smile. If you smile at somebody, they smile back. If you frown at them, they frown back. It's because our mirror neurons are firing. So joy can not only bring greater happiness to your life, but it spreads. Now, because I was thinking about these different words, I was thinking, because fun, and if you look at the word origin of fun, the etymology, it actually comes from hoaxes and jests and childlike behaviour. So there is this natural tendency to view it in that slightly negative way. But I think in modern terms, we actually have a different sense of fun. Fun is a good thing. So I started thinking, well, should I use the word enjoyment instead of fun? And exactly, I was like, no, I'm not sure I should. And the reason was, we can take enjoyment quite seriously. I'm really enjoying this. Yeah, it's good. I'm having an enjoyable evening. Do you actually believe me? This is a very enjoyable evening. Yeah, not so sure. Whereas fun, I'm having a fun evening. Yeah. Unless we're being sarcastic, which we Brits can be sarcastic. I'm having a fun evening. So that childlike quality to fun, I think, is really important. And the other word was joy, which I've come to as well, because joy, I think, is something we can seek. And I think we can seek that through seeking fun. So we know that Steve enjoys his work. Does anybody else enjoy their work? That's wonderful to see. Are there aspects of your work you don't enjoy? Does anybody have aspects of their work they don't enjoy, that aren't fun, that feel heavy and boring and serious? What would it feel like if you enjoyed every aspect of your work? Be amazing. Uplifting, fulfilling, enlightening, exactly. And when I did this talk on Tuesday in Ipswich, when I asked that question, the room sort of went, and I went, you don't believe me, do you? I said, drop the idea that it's not possible for a second, and would it be good? And they went, oh, yeah, no, that would be really good. They just didn't believe it was possible. So let's take a look at what stops us enjoying either all of our work or just aspects of our work. Firstly, there's that idea of being serious. If we're having fun, will people think we're being disrespectful? Will they think we're not taking things seriously? Will they think we're not adult enough if we're having fun? That can put pressure. As I said, the etymology of serious, heavy, weighty, grave. We feel the need to take things seriously. Otherwise, we might not achieve success. The other thing that can stop us, boredom. Anybody suffer with boredom in some areas of their work? Again, if we look at it, boredom isn't about the task, because some people might find that task really interesting and rewarding, but we don't find it that way. So it's our perception of the task that makes it boring. So can we shift that perspective? If we start, in modern terms, in apps and things, they talk about gamifying stuff. If we have a boring task, can we gamify it? Make it a game so we raise the challenge. Because if we go back to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, I'm going to show off about pronouncing that name, in his definition of flow, flow was when challenge was met by ability. When challenge exceeds ability, we feel disheartened and we give up, or we feel like it's really weighty and heavy. When ability exceeds challenge, we get bored. So if we start to gamify those boring aspects of our job, we're raising the challenge aspect. If we say, can I get all my accounts finished in an hour? And if I do, I can do X and give myself a prize. We gamify it, then we raise the challenge. So then ability and challenge start to be on a par, and that's where we can get into that sense of flow, and things feel lighter and easier. So there are things we can do about the boredom aspect. We don't have to just say, this is a boring task, it will always be boring. We can change it, because what makes it boring is our attitude towards it. The final thing that brings seriousness to a job is when we worry about judgment. We either fear that judgment's going to happen, or we perceive that we are being judged. And that makes us feel vulnerable. And it makes us feel worried about what's going to happen. So then we say, well, we have to take it seriously. I'm so worried about failing, I'm going to have to take it seriously, because otherwise I might fail. So we'll come back to that later, because is that true? Now, you can't quite see it. That's a picture of me looking quite serious, aged about 5 or 6, I think. I was a very serious child, an extremely serious child. I took life very seriously. I followed the rules. I did as I was told mostly, at school anyway. And I believed that you had to take life seriously because I wanted to achieve things. I wanted to get things right. I wanted to be good enough. And so I had to take things seriously. And it wasn't until I changed career that I started questioning this. And then I read a book by Viktor Frankl. Has anybody heard of Viktor Frankl? I'm glad you remember my talk from Tuesday. Clive, where were you?
I'm being too serious.
Oh, you're being too serious. Let me know. Viktor Frankl was in all the main concentration camps during the war. He was not a big strapping lad when he went in. In fact, he very nearly ended up in the gas chambers when he first arrived because he had a wonky shoulder. And they were sending him down that way, and something happened that meant they sent him down that way. And that saved his life. That was just chance. But he was, I think by the end, a neurologist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist. I think he ticked all the boxes. He was into brains. And what interested him was, what was it that helped people survive? Because there were people who survived the concentration camps, and there were people that didn't. And in his view, it wasn't their physicality that made them survive. It was their mental attitude that helped them survive. So what did they have that the others didn't? The big, strapping, healthy lads were not always the ones that survived. He believed it was their attitude, because he said the Nazis controlled how much heat he had, how much heat he didn't have, how cold he was, how much light he had, how much sleep he had, how much food he had, how much pain he was in, how many people were around him. Every external element of his environment, the Nazis controlled. He said the one thing they could not control was the attitude he took towards that. They could provide the stimulus, he chose the response. And he said it was man's search for meaning. If they had a meaning to their life, and that helped them have the attitude of, I'm going to get through this, then they survived by sheer bloody attitude. So if we look back to these things, being serious is just an attitude. You don't have to have that attitude. Boredom is just an attitude. It's not the thing itself that's boring, it's your attitude towards it that makes it seem boring. And worry and fear of judgment is an approach you take. People will judge you. I'm not going to stand here and say people aren't going to judge you. They will. But you get to choose how you respond to that judgment. You get to choose how important that judgment is to you. You get to choose how much you worry about that judgment. So if we look at what fun can bring you again, that desire to do. If you can access that desire to do by making something fun, that's a positive, isn't it? If you can remove that sense of hard work and do something because it's fun, that's a positive. If you can increase your productivity, why on earth would you worry about something if it's going to make you more serious and make it harder work and make you close down and control things as opposed to open up and enjoy things? Increase your productivity, increase your flow. Find that place where ability and challenge are met. And then you'll increase your focus because you're doing something you enjoy. And you'll feel more alive, and there will be more joy in your life. And wouldn't life be wonderful if you just had even a little bit more joy? If you could make one aspect of your life more joyful, how good would that feel? Now, just going back, take me a while, to the worry and judgment, because that's the hardest one to fix. Because that's about what we feel vulnerable about. And often when we feel vulnerable about something, we want to shut it down. We want to stop feeling that way. We want to ignore it. We want to push it down with our foot and go, this isn't happening. Pull your socks up, get on with it, feel the fear and do it anyway. Just stop being so pathetic. And we start using that language. We start using that language of parent to child. And we start feeling even more vulnerable and stupid. So we start criticizing ourselves and making it feel worse and heavier and nastier and more awful. So in trying to address this worry and judgment and fear of judgment, we actually make ourselves more worried. And we make ourselves more concerned about judgment because we're judging ourselves. And if we judge ourselves, then everyone else is going to judge us. And that feels horrible. But if we were to step back and actually offer ourselves some compassion and go, yeah, I feel vulnerable about this, and that's okay. Standing up in front of a whole load of people. I'm worried about messing up because I don't want to look stupid, because who wants to look stupid in public? If we start to go, that's okay. Steve wants to look stupid in public. We can help. But if we start to offer ourselves some compassion, if we start to acknowledge what we feel bad about, we can then start to take steps to change it. As I was talking about before, that word yet. I don't feel comfortable talking in public yet. So what am I going to do about it? This is my vulnerability. I'm not going to ignore it and push it down and pretend it's not there. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change my attitude. They might judge me, but that's their issue, not my issue. One of my favorite quotes is, the sooner we learn that other people's responses to us say more about their shit than our shit, the happier we will be. So if somebody comes up and says, God, you're really wrinkled. Yes, and? Your point? Thank you very much. And you have a point to make. You know, what does it say, unless it hurts me?
Botox.
Clearly, I don't have one. But it only matters if it matters to me. Their judgment only matters if it matters to me. Can I take from their judgment the bit that's useful to me and leave the nasty bit to one side? Can I go, okay, I can do something about that? Or can I go, actually, I'm happy. I can't do anything about that. That's just me. That's about my attitude. So, fun and bringing fun to our lives can bring us joy. There are 3 things I would like you to take away from this talk, but I can't make you take them away. I can just offer them up. The first thing is, important can still be fun. Just because something's important doesn't mean we have to take it seriously in a way that takes out all that sense of fun. You can have fun doing something really important. And if you do, then you'll increase your flow, you'll increase your focus, you'll increase your productivity, and you'll increase your desire to do it. Fun and enjoyment increase productivity. There's no doubt, you all answered unanimously. When you're having fun, you're more likely to do it, and you're more likely to be more productive. Finally, fun is an attitude and not something that just happens. You go out, you get the fun from stuff. It's the attitude you take to it, just like boredom. It's not about the thing itself, it's about your attitude towards it. So how are you going to get fun? How are you going to get joy? How are you going to make this moment full of joy? So bring on the fun. Thank you very much.